Happy Sunday. Thank you for your patience. I know that I'm getting this out to you very late this evening. Welcome to my hotel room in Corpus Christi, where I'll be spending a good part of this week. That's the reason why that I'm getting to you so late. Travel schedule just would not allow me to do everything the way that I had intended to do it. But welcome, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your patience, and thank you, of course, for your support. So let's get to it. Last night, Paul and I were watching Tim Minchin's concert on Netflix, and one of his songs is In Defense of the Fence. And listening to that song, and listening to him through his, ingenious lyrics that only he can produce, I literally received goosebumps, because what he was expressing was something that I've been struggling with for the last 3 years, but had obviously not been able to vocalize or verbalize the way that he was able to through the lyrics of his fabulous song. So I definitely would recommend that you go and listen to that. So, In Defense of the Fence, I want to talk to you for just a minute about making sure that we do not, for a lack of better words, create another religion within the secular movement. This isn't going to be the normal motivational Sunday message that maybe you've been used to, but every once in a while, every good minister has to shift gears from evangelist to pastor. And so let me pastor for just a few moments. I think it's important that we appreciate the complexity of the arguments that are out there. This is not in any way to say that all of a sudden new information is going to appear and we're going to determine that we were wrong and that theism actually is right. That is not even close to what I'm trying to say. What I am trying to say is that oftentimes, or at least my experience in the last 3 years has been this, that the majority of people that I've encountered are very comfortable with drawing very clear and distinct lines, creating an us versus them mentality. And you've heard me express this over and over again. I just don't feel that way. I've never felt that way. As a matter of fact, it would be hypocritical for me to now feel that way. I've heard other ex-ministers get up and apologize for this and apologize for that. But I've never felt that way. I've always felt like that everything that I did within my Christian experience, I was doing the best that I thought I could do, and I was doing to the best of my ability, trying to maintain a sense of integrity and honesty, the best that I could under the circumstance. And you understand that already. So when I made that transition from theism to atheism, and if you know my story in Hope After Faith, you know that that's a very long and drawn out and complicated deconversion. But you will also know that when I got to the other end of that deconversion, I didn't feel like I was suddenly on the other side of the fence. I did not, and I do not feel an us versus them. Instead, I feel as if I actually was elevated, and you've heard me say this in other presentations, but it's important to reiterate. I feel like I was actually elevated above the entire playground. I don't feel like I'm on one side of the fence or the other. I feel like I'm above the entire situation, which is why I try to always say, not that I've lost my faith, but instead that I've graduated from my religion. I feel like I've grown as a person. So, my message for you today would be this. Let's make sure we keep an opportunity to continue to grow. 3 quick points. There is beauty in mystery. There is beauty in complication. There is beauty in there being arguments or philosophies or ideas that are very complicated and not as easily dismissed as we might would claim that they are. Instead, I think that it's beneficial, not just as individuals, but also as a movement, that we show our ability to understand the complexities of the human experience. And when someone presents an argument to us, that we are looking for ways to build bridges, not for ways to build walls. Number two, we should use this complexity of the human experience as an opportunity for growth, personal growth. I know that not only did it challenge me whenever I encountered new ideas or new worldviews or new philosophies, and in particular new theologies back in the day. Not only did it challenge me, and of course that came with some negative feelings, obviously. No one likes to feel as if the foundation that they've built their life on is going to crumble beneath them once they accept a new concept. But it challenged me, and then it fed me. There was a overflowing sense of self-satisfaction, of gratification, of self-expression, to be able to move to the next level, to feel myself emotionally evolve, intellectually evolve. That's only possible whenever we're, like I said, building bridges and not building walls, listening and engaging in not just the conversation with other people, not just in the conversation of atheist versus theist, but in the conversation of life. What is this telling me? This roadblock in my life that I keep hitting, this wall I keep hitting, what does it mean when I can't progress any further financially, when I can't progress any further in my relationship? What does that mean to me? What is that telling me? All of this complexity and difference is an opportunity for personal growth. So lastly, and this is a big one for me, inclusion. You know, one of the things that brought me to where I'm at is that I was more grace than my grace fellowship. I was in many ways more inclusive than even the gospel of inclusion that I was being taught. I just kept expanding my boundaries and my circle. I kept expanding it and expanding it and expanding it until it made its way to this point. And so I don't intend on now putting up walls at the boundary of that circumference. And what I mean by putting up walls is using the labels and using the terminologies that do create walls. That's not to say that we're to be ashamed of the word atheist. It's not to say that we're to pull back from anything that we know through solid evidence. But instead, I think those walls are more than anything created by a language that animates an attitude. We need to have a very positive attitude about the conversations. Now, let me tell you, if that's not your personality, if that's not who you are, you've heard me for the last 3 years defend your right to be who you are. So this may not be for you at all. If it's not, thank you for listening thus far. But for the rest of you, that maybe you feel like your type of personality is overshadowed by the other types of personalities within the movement, stand your sweet, lovely, smiling ground. So here we are. And here I sit in defense of the fence. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon. We're going to talk more about this over on the Patreon site. So that's patreon.com/Jerry DeWitt. If you're looking for CMC services, and I encourage you to do so, please go to dogmadebate.com/CMC, and you'll be satisfied over there, I'm sure. Once again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience tonight. And thank you for being brave.